Hello, my name is Ben and my co-presenter today is Liam. We are both from Minsthorpe Community College in Year 7. Our main story tonight is about road safety. Did you know that worldwide 1.2 million people are killed in road accidents and as many as 50 million are injured each year?
In the UK alone, around 280 people die in road accidents, and most of them are young drivers from the age of 17 to 27.
It is our opinion that all pedestrians need to do to be safe on the road is follow our code, LBC. Look on the road, be cautious, cross the road safely. We have a special guest on today's show. Please welcome Mrs. Fairhurst, Minsthorpe's Associate Principal.
Good morning, Mrs. Fairhurst. Thank you for your time today. We will ask you some questions about road safety. What can people as a community do to prevent road accidents?
I think firstly it's very important that the community do take some action to prevent road accidents, and I think pulling together and maybe forming an action group and coming up with some ideas for drivers and for young people and adults as well as to how they perhaps should use the roads, crossing and driving, whether you're a pedestrian or whether you're in a car, and almost like a set of do's and don'ts really for the community use of the roads.
Yeah. How can parents prevent their children from being involved in an accident?
I think it's all about educating them at home and talking to them frequently about how to cross the road safely and not to run across the road with a group of friends, or ways to use what you remember as the green cross code, looking left and right. And I think if the parents can do that at home as much as they possibly can, then that will support us in school as well to be able to give those same messages. So it's really about educating their children of the dangers of crossing the road in a not very sensible manner.
How can drivers be more careful when driving near schools?
Well, you would hope, wouldn't you, that drivers in cars near schools will think that there are going to be a lot of young people around. And I personally, as a driver, know that I need to slow right down, obey the speed limit. The speed limit on our road out here is a 20 as you get near the school, 20 miles an hour. So you hope that all drivers will obey the speed limits, not park where they shouldn't park, be prepared perhaps for some students, although they shouldn't, but for some students to perhaps walk out or accidentally be knocked out into the road. So I think just driving very carefully, having their wits about them and looking all of the time should really be what all drivers near school should be doing.
How can students ensure their own safety whilst crossing the road?
Well, first of all, one of the main pieces of advice that we could give to students is to use the designated crossings, so to use the pedestrian crossing. And if they're not using the pedestrian crossing with the traffic lights, which stops the traffic for them, there are other designated places to cross lower down the road. So that's the first thing that really we advise all students to do. Secondly is to perhaps not be on a mobile phone or have earphones in listening to music whilst crossing the road, because obviously then they're not quite as alert as we would like them to be.
What role do you think that the police have in this?
I think the police, the role that the police have is to support us as a school in educating the young people who come here, and also supporting us in moving parents and other drivers on who have parked illegally outside the school that could potentially cause a problem. Our on-site police officer, PC Newton, is very supportive with that. He's often out and about, as you know. He will speak to drivers who have parked illegally, and he also educates you students here in school about safely crossing the road and use of the road, as do we. So the police have a role, they're very supportive, and they do work with us on that. But more importantly, I think it's the council that have more of a role than the police even, to support us in adapting the road to make it as safe as it possibly can be.
Do you feel that reducing the speed limit to 20 miles per hour outside of schools will ensure that the students will feel a lot safer?
I think it must be 30 miles an hour actually at the moment. Excuse me for thinking it was 20. To reduce it to 20 would be an amazing thing to do. However, I think it would make students feel safer, but I still think it would go back to educating the students as to how to cross that road safely. If a car's going 20 or if a car's going 30, they still need to know where to cross the road safely, how to cross the road safely, when to cross the road safely, despite the speed of the car. What it could potentially do, as you see on adverts on television, a 20 mile per hour speed limit, if, God forbid, something did happen and a car did hit a young person whilst going 20, there's going to be less damage and less injury than there would be if that car was going 30. So it can only be a good thing, and I think the students, of course, would support that if that came into place.
What do Minsthorpe do to encourage students to be safe on the road?
Well, I've already spoken about the educating of them in lessons. We do things like in Learning for Life and in Q&A time, as you know. We talk about how to cross the road safely, and we regularly remind you about that. All of the staff are PCs. Newton, he also does that. But also the leadership team, myself included, we wear our high-vis jackets, as you know, and we make sure that we're outside at the end of school to help you all across the road and to make sure that you cross the road safely. So I think it's about giving that constant message to you all about how to be safe when you're crossing the road.
What do you think of our new code, LBC? Look on the road, be cautious and cross the road safely.
I think that's fantastic, and I think that that could be something that you could really promote at Minsthorpe, and I think all the students, because it's coming from you as students, I think all the students would really accept that. It also goes really well with our Be Safe, Feel Safe campaign that we've had now at Minsthorpe for a number of years. It would sit alongside that really well, wouldn't it? So well done, that's a really good idea.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Fairhurst.
Thank you.
In our opinion, there are 7 main groups who are collectively responsible for keeping us and themselves safe. These are the drivers, students, police, council, community, parents, and the college itself.
We feel here at Minsthorpe Community College we have multiple methods in place in order to keep us safe, such as a pelican crossing, also called a pedestrian light control crossing. Also, Minsthorpe's leadership team are always there to help students be safe when walking home, and easily spotted in their bright yellow jackets.
Thank you for listening.